Hello again, hope you're all doing well and that you like the new work in progress. It's not complete. That's because I ordered a computer stand from Temu, one of the companies of all time, and they mailed me this empty envelope. So, next time I'm playing it safe and sticking to a wish. Anyway, I used to upload about once a week. Now it's kind of once a month. And well, there's three reasons why this happened. One, my book of business has radically changed in the last few years. Two, both my kids now do travel sports, which eats up a lot of life. And three, my computer wasn't keeping up with my camera gear. Now, a few months ago, my motherboard was having issues, and that was the sign to pull the trigger on some hardware upgrades. The hope is that this will speed up production time by maybe 10 or 15%, which might mean more videos, or at least better ones. Anyway, the new roundup is all about cohabitation for non-lawyers. That's where one spouse is kind of in a de facto marriage without remarrying. And as a result, it would be unfair to force the ex who's paying alimony to keep having to pay that person, if you will. Pretty simple concept, but it has vexed courts for years on where on the spectrum does cohabitation fall. This question has resulted in long, complicated decisions by the appellate courts in the last decade. Which brings me to the upcoming guide. It has all 21 cohabitation decisions since Miller, which is the leading case on cohabitation. And because colleagues really like the 1401 flowchart I did a couple guides back, this one includes a spreadsheet breaking down dozens of cases with unique cohabitation characteristics, because a lot of the pre-Miller stuff, well, believe it or not, it's still good law. So, how do you get this really cool guide? Easy. All the guides are uploaded on the Substack to include this upcoming guide, which, like all prior guides, kind of drops when it drops, but it is free. So you can lurk on the Substack each day and wait for it to appear, or you can subscribe, and when it's ready, you'll get an automated email letting you know it's ready to download. Really, whatever your comfort level is going to be on that. There's no advertisements, it's just case law and guides. Now, I've covered cohabitation twice in the last few years. First, in this older video where I focus mostly on the two Churchill decisions out of the 3rd District, and then in 2023, I covered Edson. And Edson, like Miller, notes our famous 6 factors, which comes from the Heron case from 1992. Here they are for those that might be a bit unfamiliar with them. Now, I've called these factors, but the appellate court's relationship with these factors is very complicated. They don't want to get rid of them, but they don't want to make it official either. They kind of want them to be suggestions with benefits. And we kind of see that with Edson, where lip service is paid to these suggestions with benefits, but really it's kind of summed up to this. If the parties can call it quits without any real entanglements, cohabitation is going to be almost impossible to show. I called this the heat rule.
Don't let yourself get attached to anything you are not willing to walk out on in 30 seconds flat if you feel the heat around the corner.
But last year, the 3rd District said, look, Edson, God bless Heat, great film, but a better metric is the Fast and Furious rule.
I don't have friends. I got family.
And we get this in Miller, 2024 Miller, not 2015. And from the third's viewpoint, the better metric is to look at whether the ex who's receiving alimony is taking their significant other to the family reunion, the barbecue, Christmas, sports tournaments, whatever. Because in the 2024 Miller case, the ex and her boyfriend, they had separate residences and they mostly kept separate finances, but they went everywhere together, attached at the hip, and a lot of that involved family functions. Now, the 3rd District isn't rejecting the 2015 Miller decision or Edson, nor is it lowering the bar, because lest we forget, that same year, the 3rd District released Saunders, the case where they felt mom was getting a lot of friends with benefits, but it was just that, meaningless intimacy, not a de facto marriage. So, the ex still had to keep cutting her those checks. And I think 2024's Miller allows courts greater flexibility in preventing parties from trying to game the system. And this is case law. Courts can consider a party's knowledge of the cohabitation game. But this decision, the 2024 Miller, distances itself a little bit from the long-standing rule that if the parties aren't living together, it's really tough to prove cohabitation. As a matter of fact, we have a lot of case law that says it's a tough road if the parties aren't shacking up together. So, what is cohabitation? Is it going to be the fast and furious part whatever, or is it going to be heat? Which is the superior metric? And I think Vin Diesel makes a good argument because it's hard to be in a committed relationship if your new significant other won't let you near any family functions. But it's harder to prove this unless you're going to be stalking the ex or the alimony receiving spouse has zero social media discipline. Whereas Edson offers more tangible evidence, like whose name's on the lease, the car note, bank accounts, who's paying for what charge cards. But it's also a lot easier to game. You kind of tell the other person, hey, I might lose my subsidy if we live together or pay each other's stuff, so let's keep that all separate and just engage in like meaningless sex and weekly family functions.
Woohoo! USA! USA!
Understandably, courts are going to have great difficulty in creating a foolproof test on this issue. Each relationship often has to be looked at on its own to see if, based on what they're doing, it's fair or otherwise equitable to force the ex-spouse to keep cutting those alimony checks. So, until we either change Section 510, expect this back and forth between the appellate courts to continue. And in the interim, we do have my guide, which comes with a spreadsheet, and practitioners can see which case best fits their particular client's issue. And from there, hopefully they can litigate accordingly. Anyway, that's all I have. My next video, that's really a hard one to describe. Remember how I would about once a year cover something or someone associated with family law reform? Well, since you've made it this far, here's a quick preview. Enjoy.
I've been an attorney for almost coming up on 25 years. Of all the cases, with all due respect, sir, I've never seen a clear case filing pleadings for the purposes of being vexatious and harass. The order from this court will also be sent to the California State Bar, noting that you've been deemed a vexatious litigant in the state of Nevada, County Clark.
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering, how did I get into this mess? It's a crazy story, really, and it begins just a few years ago.
He has sued judges, it didn't go anywhere. He has sued attorneys, it didn't go anywhere. He had appealed to the Supreme Court, it didn't go anywhere.
You threatened to sue me in federal court for it.
One of Todd's crazy-ass lawsuits alleged the defendant sold dietary supplements full of EMF sending nanosensors.
9/11 didn't happen.
Let's go back
no,
to
it
9/11
did happen,
for a
but
second.
that was demolition. Those are self-guided planes. Nobody was on them.
Just sign this, and I'm like, I don't know what this is, and I signed it, but it ends up being this class action lawsuit that he's gung ho about.
And I did a word search, Control F, and the term Hess never appears.
That is incorrect as I read the case.
Sir, if you could, no, sir, please.